What's going on, everybody? I'm going to go over the midweek review and just want to go ahead and start on a weekly. So let's bring up the chart going into today. So on the weekly, you can see we took out this low on this candle down. We got a fair value got created from today's push down and back up. And this low, this high, left this fair value gap. Now, the question is going to be, do we come in here for the rest of the week and just push the fair value gap higher? Or do we continue to go down? So let's go ahead. I want to leave the weekly information on for the daily chart and switch over to the daily real quick. So considering that we've made this high and this is our low for the week, if we decide that we want to push up into this weekly fair value gap, right? We got a catalyst to do so because we got this huge big candle that we made today as likely going to show some type of support if it does decide it wants to go. Because right now, we're either going to break above the high or we're going to break below the low. But before we get to the low, we got like the weekly right here, and we have some imbalances on the lower time frame that we would need to push through in order to get to that. So let me bring up the daily markups. You can see, let me zoom in a little bit. Zoom in a little bit. So considering the daily, so far for the week, this is our Monday, current day going into Thursday open. The daily fair value gap was right here at this low to this high. And we basically come up and made the high right around the midpoint of this fair value gap. Going again, as I repeated before, if we do decide that we want to go lower, we're going to have to deal with a lot of imbalance from this one candle where, again, we got the weekly, the midpoint of the week, and even going even lower, we have some order blocks and imbalances on the lower time frame. And we've made the low right around 36.5, which is the projected low based off of that move to the downside, that we make a low right around 35.90 something, which I think I got it on the 4-hour chart, and I'll show you. And if we want to continue to push up, we need to hold inside of this fair value gap or hold at one of these areas. So I'm going to leave the daily on and then go into the 4-hour chart so that you can see the difference. Let me pull that off and just switch over to the 4-hour. So this kind of goes into, before I bring it up, you can see we got the daily, weekly, midpoint for the week, an imbalance right here, and an order block, and a small imbalance that's right here as well. So we got a lot of areas that we can show some support. So let's pull that daily chart off and bring up the 4-hour. Our projected low was 35.97.81. We missed it by about 30 pips, making it the low at 36 flat. Order block that's going to hold some type of support for this move up. And then we got the fair value gap to the upside, which is, I actually got an alert sitting right around this fair value gap. And then this one was one to the downside. They kind of held us down to the low, and it could come back and act as support, right? This fair value gap is the latest one that we breached into, the wick being 37, 36, 60 on the high. The midpoint of this fair value gap is 37, 34, so it's spot on. So if we do decide we want to come down, it's kind of projecting for me to come down at least into this fair value gap or somewhere along this route down. You know, we could come and hold inside of this fair value gap, this high of this fair value gap, or down to the weekly, and even as low as into the midpoint of this fair value gap at 36.8272. If we come down lower, there's another fair value gap that was here that was used. It was mitigated, but it could be, this is one to the downside that they've already bought through right here, and we could consider it as low as here. I won't really focus on this fair value gap right here until we get through here. So a lot of this is going to act as support. If we decide that we want to hold at some of these areas, I'll be looking to take some buys from there. If we continue to sell off, I'll need to see that one of these fair value gaps get traded through and we come back up to retest it to see if we get a fair value gap failure or fair value gap hold to the downside. I'm going to leave the 4-hour on and switch to the 1-hour chart. Just want to confirm and show you how everything is lining up, right? It's, again, low. Our liquidity's here. Got an order block here. And that's, again, let's line it up, right? Our 1-hour charts markups are going to look like this. So we can get those off, the 4 hours off, and put the 1 hours on. Same situation, right? Fair value gap, again, gonna act as support. Got an order block here. Another fair value gap holding right along with the weekly. The weekly's price is 36.91.90. The midpoint of this fair value gap is the weekly opening. So that definitely, a sign of support that's there. The wick high on this touched inside of this fair value gap. I don't have it marked up, but you can see that the high is lining up with this low. We got the high of the week and the low of the week so far made on today, Wednesday. Let me put the daily chart on there one more time. I just want to see where the midpoint lines up with where we are. So let's zoom out a little bit. Midpoint, weekly midpoint is 3668.55, smack dab in the middle of this fair value gap. So again, likely draw if we do sell off for us to hold possibly at the midpoint. That will look something like, something like this. Let me pull out the path tool. That'll look something like this. Boom. High, holds a high. We go here and then we push up somewhere into, where's our next level? We have anything up here, above here, maybe inside of this order block right here before we get something. And then if we even get a little funkier, there's a gap right here that we could even see it go into, which right here, from this low to there is somewhere around there. That lines up with, some of what I would probably consider like maybe the 618 up here, or negative 618, negative 27, or negative 100 possibly. Let's, if we draw the fibs from here, let's see here to here, and put the template here. That lines us up basically with what we would expect, right? So if we were to get a high to low move, high from this high, and get a new low around this area, we can project right around the 161, 200 to come back inside of this area. So definitely something to consider as far as the hourly charts, and moving forward into the lower time frame charts to see where we kind of get projected to. I'm gonna clear that off, and let's get the daily off of here. But for now, I'm gonna just focus on this range, this impulse that we in right now, from this high, this low to this high. and decide whether or not we just want to keep pressing higher, or do we want to come back and balance out some of this stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and switch over to the 15-minute chart. 15-minute chart, you'll notice that most of the markups on the 15 line up with what's going on the 1 hour. And I'll just zoom in so we can just, again, focus on this. We got some draws above us on the 15-minute. There's a gap. I won't draw it until we take this high out. And there's another order block right here, continuation block that we got our high bouncing off of, but I won't draw it until we take this high out, which will, if it does happen, it might be out of my range of trading. And you can see we had a buy coming from this imbalance. The low on this candle was where we bought from, and that was at 1940, 36, 1940. The midway point, 3620.505. And we just ran up from here. This happened outside of a point that I could trade. So I didn't get a chance to get the low of this low, or this one. This low happened pre-New York, from London into pre-New York. And then this high to low happened right at 7. I was away, so I couldn't grab it. So I only got to catch this entry right off of 3650 to push up into the highs near the weekly. Let me throw the in fact, let me throw the 4-hour chart on. Oh, I got rid of it. Right on the 4-hour, there is a fair value gap that was balanced out right around here. That was my target from this. I honestly thought we were going to reject around here. That's kind of why we got those lows. But it looks like we held the midway point of that fair value gap that was on the 4-hour was right around here. And you can see we just held it, pushed up, and even pushed through the weekly to make a new high. So I didn't get to get all the move. All my targets, let's look and see what that looked like. That was the buy here. Right here. This is what it was looking like for me. Entry here, target 1 was this high, target 2, there was a short-term high right here. And then target 3 was the target that I was aiming for. This actually was the 4-hour fair value gap high. And that's primarily what I was looking for. And I took most of my trade out at 1, 2, and 3. And I left like a small piece in to get 4. I didn't think I thought we would even reject the weekly possibly. So that was a little surprise. I saw there was news, but I didn't really focus on it. And let's go ahead and hide this. Didn't really focus on it. It was pending home sales, FOMC, Powell, oil, and another FOMC speaker. I didn't really focus on those. I just kind of traded it mostly off of technical, and I'm okay with that because it was not like a high risk trade. I was only going to be risking about 50 pips on the trade. So I'm not even sure what was said in the speech. So, but from what I heard, it was Powell basically implied that he's okay with letting the market fall. I believe that's what I was told. So, just don't hold me on that. Going into Thursday, 8:30, we got final GDP, unemployment claims, big news, FOMC, Minster natural gas. So it's going to be a lot of news starting around 8:30. Definitely will pay attention to this unemployment claim. So I'll probably, this week did pretty good on the chart. So I will probably reduce risk to going into Thursday and Friday. So it's no need to, risk anything heavy. and just kind of play this by ear, based off of what happens into London, and open it going forward. So now, as far as the rest of the week goes, let's go back to the daily, and then I'll just cut the video from here, go back to the daily again. Just to reiterate, pull up the daily chart one last time. I'm going to stay neutral, but bearish overall. I'll switch it up for a short-term move, right? The trades that I take for the rest of the week probably not going to be long-term move, but again, we're inside of a fair value gap right now, and we've made the high for the week so far, right around the midway point of this fair value gap. So there's reason for us to continue to go down lower. But once we get into the low, this is why I'm neutral, because if we do reject off of this, we got a lot of imbalance that could hold this up and act as demand. So I'm going to stay neutral to bearish, but I don't mind switching over to a buy and become bullish on any short-term move that hold inside of this candle's range. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for. And I'll probably drop a video on Friday to go over any the trades that we're taking this week. And hope you guys have a good one.